Hi.
We saw Passengers.
We did. We saw Passengers. What'd you think?
I think I was expecting so much worse.
Were you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was built up too much. They're like, oh, Sarah's gonna hate the ending. Oh, there's a twist you'll never see coming. But it's like the second he woke up by himself, I'm like, oh, he's gonna wake her ass up, isn't he?
Yeah.
And it's gonna play it as a romance, isn't it?
Yeah.
And lo, it came to pass. And this movie is just, it's a horror movie that doesn't realize it's a horror movie.
Oh, the script was a horror movie.
Uh-huh.
The script is way better than this movie. I honestly agree with you. I thought the movie was going to be a lot worse going into it.
Mm-hmm.
This movie's got some fucking problems. Don't get me wrong. But, yeah, I recommend looking at the script, quite honestly.
I want to now, because, like, as a horror movie, this would be really good.
Uh-huh.
Because his ass he woke up by mistake.
Yeah.
Slowly went crazy, and then woke up a woman to, like, be the Eve to his Adam.
Yeah.
And keep it a secret from her and seduce her.
Mm-hmm.
That is the trappings of an excellent horror movie.
No,
like,
it is.
She'd figure it out, and he'd, like, be chasing her through the ship, and she'd be like, "When?" And then maybe the gravity would go out, because that part was genuinely horrifying.
Yeah.
But no, they got in a fight because of it.
Uh-huh.
And he's all like, "But I love you," and she's like, "Leave me alone." He's like, "Okay," and she's like, "All right, I forgive you because the ship's breaking." And then they lived happily ever after.
Right, yeah. Like, man. There's a lot of really good you could do with this.
His ass should have just killed himself.
No, totally. Like, it's a provocative script. It's a provocative story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but before he wakes her up, he's been isolated by himself for like a year and 3 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
And the way the script reads that this isn't charming Chris Pratt doing this. The script reads this as a person who's been isolated for a year and will probably do something that most human beings wouldn't, but when you go insane in isolation like that, in solitary confinement on this ship, you're gonna do something pretty bad, probably. And the script really did deal with that. And whenever this movie almost did, I don't know, it would go back on it. Like, because the movie does address what he did was wrong, and it does...
It was murder!
Yeah, exactly. Like, the movie does...
No, sorry, I was doing my Jennifer Lawrence impersonation when she's, like,
it was
explaining
murder,
to Larry Fishburne... Was that Larry Fishburne?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why she was so upset about it, and the way the scene was arranged made her seem like a whiny little bitch. He's like, yeah, I suppose he, technically speaking, murdered you. But a drowning man will grab on to someone as they drown, will they not? You two take care of each other, it is my dying wish, Black.
God, I like Chris Pratt. He should not have been in this movie.
No, he shouldn't have.
Originally, it was Keanu Reeves, I think, which would have been better than Chris Pratt.
If it had been anyone other than Chris Pratt, you would not have been able to hide that this was supposed to be a horror movie.
Yeah, and so the movie does deal with the fact that he did what he did was wrong. It does minimally it does. It's not so much like Overboard where a day passes and it's fine.
The thing is, like, with Overboard, they gloss over it so much that it's hilarious.
No, it is.
This movie, they touch on it briefly to be like, yeah, alright, maybe he shouldn't have done this. What he did was wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, no movie, the word you're looking for is monstrous.
Yeah, totally monstrous. And goddamn, yeah, the movie, every time, I mean, you could tell looking at the movie that this script really dealt with that a lot more than this movie is. Because every time this movie was getting close to turning into that, when it has angles in it.
The ship would break.
Yeah, it has angles in it and cinematography that make it look like a horror movie. When she realizes what he did, it looks like a slasher film. Like, it looks like, man, this really should turn into a thriller or something. And if you're going to give him this sort of redeeming moment, he's gotta die at the end of this movie. Those two cannot fucking end up together in this.
No, and there are moments where you can kind of see where maybe that's what the direction... There are moments in this movie that kind of reminded me of Ex Machina, in that sort of, like, quiet...
Yeah.
Horrifying situation where as the audience it's slowly dawning on you what's going on, and then she'd push the dishes aside and they'd make out on a table.
Yeah, and there would be shots where I'm like, I think I'm perceiving this as creepier than this movie is, even though the script is, because they put jokey Chris Pratt in this movie. So when it does have shots where he's just kind of standing behind her and whatnot, it doesn't feel like this movie, the tone that they set for this movie thinks he's as creepy as he is. Because it would just be like one shot where he's kind of standing behind her, and then it's back to doing rom-com stuff.
Well, plus, like, some of the things they did to mitigate how monstrous the thing that he did was just leaning very heavily on the Chris Prattiness of it.
Yeah.
So...
Sorry.
Well, yeah. like crying into the microphone.
Uh-huh.
Or the one part in particular, because, like, it kind of does this almost jokey little montage of him arguing with himself about whether or not he's going to wake up this woman, and, like, having little conversations with Michael Sheen, robot.
Who is the best person in this movie, by the way.
Arthur is my favorite, and I want one. And he's trying to, like, have these deep philosophical conversations, like, what if you could do something that would make your life a million times better, would make someone else's life a million times worse? And Arthur's like, dude, I'm a robot, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But then, like, they cut to him trimming his beard in the mirror, like, I'm just gonna trim my beard. And then she cuts off a piece. And then he just looks himself in the eyes of the mirror and just says, please don't do this. And, like, that moment genuinely horrified me. Yeah. You know, because that's the second he started trimming his beard, he realized he'd made up his mind to wake her up.
And the movie plays it as if it's kind of cute,
like, it's not.
And it's not. And I would be so mad if I was the guy who wrote this script. I really would, because that.
In the script, does he die?
Man, I can't remember, honestly.
Because I don't think this character even deserves, like, the redeeming moment that he got in this movie. Because you figure he's gonna drift off into space and die, and for once, I was okay with that happening in a movie. Yeah. Because I'd like, his tether went to twang, and normally I would have been like, like, fucking drift off to space, you scumbag piece of shit.
Yeah, no, I agree. And if that had happened in this, I would have thought this movie was a lot better than the reviews were making it look. Like, it made a lot of missteps along the way, but at least,
if he had died, I would have probably just been just as mad.
Really? More so than what they did at the end of this movie?
Yes, because he didn't die ignominiously. He died, you know...
heroically.
Saving thousands of people and redeeming himself in the eyes of this character that he murdered /
Yeah.
Slavered to himself. I don't even know how to describe the thing that he did to this woman, because he didn't murder her. He stole her.
Yeah.
Like, not just stole her life, but then stole the rest of her life.
And the movie makes it to where I'm supposed to. The tone
we're
that they set.
We're supposed to feel sorry for him.
Yeah, we're supposed to feel more sorry for him than we are for her, honestly, because he's the main character in this movie. He is the focal point. Like,
she doesn't come in until like 45 minutes in.
Probably something like that. But the whole time when they're on the outs because she finds out what he did. It's still more from his point of view. It's still more, I'm supposed to kind of feel bad for this guy.
We're on team that guy.
Yeah, and while look, the story of this is definitely, it would actually make a hell of a book, honestly. Like, it really would, because the movie you would picture in your head would be a lot better than the movie that we're getting here. Like, if you really, really, really hit hard and really dark on the fact that this is someone who started out as a normal guy, and then a year goes by, and this is what what
extreme solitude did to him.
Yeah.
But you know what? Worse things in this world.
That would turn a lot of people's brains into mush.
Maybe I'm just...
Oops, sorry.
I can be a pretty extreme introvert at times. Is that your phone? Because your phone's right here. Remember we're using it as a spotlight?
I remember. Oh, I'll answer it later.
Here, sure you don't answer it now?
Here, Brad, you want to take this?
I'll just stay in the spotlight.
I'll get it later.
I forgot what I was talking about.
Being an introvert.
Yeah, being an extreme introvert, I feel like I could put up with that crap for a little while, and then I just kill myself, you know? He came super close, and that would have made this a much easier... Like, even... Okay, so... we should probably give you guys the background. Just basically, they're on the ship that's flying through space. It's getting from Earth to Homestead 2. It's gonna take 90 years. They're all in stasis.
Yeah.
But a meteor shower hits the front of the ship. One of them pating off of the circuit board that's controlling the clock to his little capsule, and his capsule pops open. He's awake too soon. I'm awake too soon. So he kind of dicks around the ship, tries to figure out how to fix his capsule, no dice. Tries to get into the command capsule to wake up some of the crew so they can help him, no dice. Makes friends with Arthur, the best character in this movie.
Yeah.
And Arthur's like, why don't you just enjoy yourself? And so, he dicks around, he plays basketball, he, teaches himself how to play some weird dancey game.
Yeah.
Eventually, he loses track of himself, almost blasts himself out of an airlock. That is a point that if this movie was starring Sarah, this movie would have ended.
He's saying,
yeah, okay. I'm not doing 75 more years of this shit. Pting.
Yeah.
You make a bet with yourself as to whether you'll suffocate to death first or freeze to death. I think probably suffocate to death first.
I would. There is a bar.
It's awfully cold in space.
There is a bar. I would probably just drink myself to death. Honestly.
I'm not gonna. Dude, being hungover sucks.
So does dying in space.
Did you see the breakfast that he got? It was just like a wad of gray mush and a coffee.
That's probably not the worst thing I've had this week.
Hey man, airlock me out. So he almost killed himself, decides not to. And then there's a second moment in this movie where he should have decided to kill himself when he was contemplating waking up this woman that he fell in love with through the glass of her sleep capsule, and realizes that he's not going to be able to stop himself from waking her up. Airlock.
Yeah. Another thing that the movie kind of glosses over that a little bit, that because there is a point where he decides to, or he contemplates killing himself, but it isn't necessarily to save her, to save the fact that he's about to do something terrible. It is more so just he attempted to do that and then just kind of went about his day. But with all of that being said, there's decent things about it. It's not a poorly made movie. It's honestly
very, very pretty.
It's a gorgeous looking film. And with all the problems that I have with the fact that it's Chris Pratt in this role, again, an actor who I like, he's miscast here, but it's not like he's giving a terrible performance. It's just the wrong kind of performance in what should be a much darker movie.
Yeah, I feel like it's the right performance for trying to make this not a horror movie.
Yeah.
And if anyone's going to pull it off, it'd be Chris Pratt, but nobody could pull it off.
They shouldn't have done that.
No.
They should, and if you're gonna do that, you have to fundamentally change way more about this movie.
It made me like Chris Pratt. Did not make me like Jim.
Well, Chris Pratt's very likable. Chris Pratt's a very likable actor. He's a good actor, but if you're gonna put him in this and give it this much brighter tone than you would ever figure this movie would have, if just by looking at the plot, you have to fundamentally change way more things about this movie.
Yeah.
You have to make it to where they both accidentally fucking wake up.
Yes.
And then, that would be fine. That would work in a level of in the original Dawn of the Dead, when they're isolated in the mall and they kind of have to make this reality for themselves and just kind of cut everything else off from the outside and have some kind of semblance of normalcy in this shopping mall. This movie could have done something like that, honestly. If you're going to put Chris Pratt in this kind of role, then really...
make him blameless.
Yeah, then really you should do something like that with it. But I thought that the ending that they gave it really kind of tried...
Fucking Zardoz ending?
Well, at least in Zardoz, he openly said, "I'm a rapist." You know, at least in Zardoz, that was a bad guy we were following.
And this was rape, really, because he fucked her under false pretenses many, many times. Almost married her under false pretenses. Monstrous.
And on the breakfast table, too. God, and so the ending that it gives it really kind of tries to justify everything that he did, and it is really skeevy.
I will say that when they started talking about like that lady who was a midwife, when they were like going around trying to guess the different people in the pods, and they like landed on that very specific midwife lady, I was very concerned that when the ending invariably came, where they ended up like living together in perfect harmony for 90 years, that they were going to end up having children, which I can't even imagine subjecting a child to that situation.
I thought that is exactly what was going to happen at the end of this.
Yeah, like the people would pop out of stasis and there's like these two 88-year-old people bored to tears because they don't even get to propagate the species.
Honestly.
Or having like a flowers in the attic situation.
Yeah. Honestly, I'll bet you there probably was something like
Maybe
that
it did
here.
not test very well.
Well, one of the main reasons why I say that is because one of the captains there at the end, who comes out as Andy Garcia, who has no lines. I will put money on it. His part was much bigger in the original cut of this. Otherwise, why the fuck is that Andy Garcia who comes out at the end of this movie? Like, he is, if you've seen Andy Garcia in the trailer for this, and he is in the trailer, that is literally his only part in this movie.
I didn't even recognize him.
Yeah, he was the one who came out at the end with the beard and everything.
You look like Captain Obvious.
I mean, better Andy Garcia movie than Max Steel that I saw a few months ago. I'll give the movie that, certainly. And when the movie was never boring to me. I'll say that.
You know, I was on the edge of my seat several times.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I could ever recommend it to somebody.
That's tough.
Like, maybe if you read the script and are interested to see what they did with it.
Then absolutely.
And you want to, like, hate watch a thing. Or if you so staunchly believe that love can prevail. If you like a good bodice ripper, because it definitely had the tone of, like, do you read, like, the girl porn books with, like, the lady on the moor? They all tend to have plots
like a Harlequin
this.
romance novel
yeah,
or something?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because the dude's always basically, like, running off with the woman and, like, forcing her against her will to fall in love with him. When it's like, he's, like, the last of his Scottish clan, and he catches her wandering the moors like a wildling and just, like, slings them over her shoulder. Yeah. That's what this movie felt like.
Yeah, because I didn't... She's given the choice at the end of this movie to go back in hibernation.
She decides not to, because that's what... the Harlequin romance character.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what would happen in something like that. And so when that happened at the end of this, I was like, not buying it. Like really? Like, okay, like, you're already asking a lot of me that she's really forgiven him for what he did. But to stay out of hibernation and live the rest of her life with him for until they die... Boy, I'm not buying that.
The more I think about it, this is basically a Harlequin romance novel. Because it's got all the plot points. It's got like the running off with her. It's got the false pretense. It's got the her figuring it out. It's got the her being mad at him. It's got the dire straits that force them back together and force them talking again. It's got her making a decision to stay with him at the end. Yeah,
I mean it does the same thing. It has those same, like, rom-coms all have those same beats too, where there's like the third act breakup.
Like the Harlequin romance novels have a very specific formula. Like, you can take classes on writing those books, and you can like knock one out in a week. And I've read a couple in my time, and this felt like that. Beat for beat.
I could say that because this movie's not going to be on my worst of the year list. I mean, it is a well-made movie, and when it does get intense, it does get very suspenseful. It does, especially towards the end of the movie. There are gorgeous shots in this and really beautiful effects, like when she's trapped in the pool when it's goes into zero gravity and everything.
That part was harrowing.
Yeah, there is really beautiful stuff here, and Michael Sheen is fantastic.
He's always fantastic. Did you hear he's not going to act anymore?
Michael Sheen?
Yeah, he's going to stop and be a political activist.
Michael Sheen, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what the internet said.
I hope this isn't his last movie.
Moving back to Wales.
Man, I hope, I hope this isn't his last film.
This year is the worst.
I mean, this isn't going to be one of the worst movies I've seen this year, but like,
no,
because there are decent qualities in a movie that has really, really, really fatal flaws. Mm-hmm. I could say that. Well, I could recommend saying, like, if it's on Netflix or something, maybe, but
there's better stuff on Netflix.
I'm honestly only saying that because this isn't a 0-star film. It's not a 1-star film. There's way worse. There's stuff that I've had a much harder time sitting through that I've called a rental, that I've called something to watch on Netflix. And kind of because of that, I'm saying, like, okay, sure, if it's on Netflix, there are good sequences in this movie. But I'll be honest, you might not like the film.
The thing is, there's really no surprises in this movie.
No.
Everything's very telegraphed as it comes up. You know, even like the end when they're trying to figure out what about the ship is broken, it tells you with the first 5 minutes of the movie. If you're watching the monitor, it says, the reactor, and then it kind of like fizzles, and then it says, oh, okay, we fixed it, sort of, and then the other stuff gets fixed.
This ship is stupid, by the way.
It's not a very smart ship.
No, like, first of all, I don't know why a lot of this stuff is functioning when they're in hibernation for like 120 years or however the fuck long they're supposed to be. And then when Chris Pratt sends out a message, like a video message saying, hey...
To customer service.
To customer service saying, like, hey, oops, my pod woke up. Can you do something about this? And then the computer comes up and says, message will be received in 30 years. I'm like, then why is that there?
There's no point. They were doing it for laughs. The same as, like, when he was talking to the computer and to the robots, where he's like, I came out of hibernation earlier. And they're like, that can't possibly be true. Enjoy your stay.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't have a problem with that, because that involved Michael Sheen, again, the best character in this film, who's Robot Lloyd the bartender from The Shining.
I laughed at a man who had no pants until I realized I had no legs.
Man, he's making the most of this movie. Like, he's great. He's great. Honestly, I could easily recommend this as a Netflix watch based solely on his character alone.
Just the Michael Sheen bits.
Yeah, uh-huh.
I haven't thought, like, maybe he was going to try that he was, like, a Hell 9000 style.
Especially because his name was Arthur.
There's a part where, like, he did the big reveal where he told Jennifer Lawrence that, it's Chris Pratt's fault that she's been woken up.
Yeah.
Because Chris Pratt told Arthur not to tell her, and he's like, got it. Mm-hmm. And then they're sitting there, and Chris Pratt's getting ready to propose to her, and she mentions offhand, like, oh, we have no secrets. And Arthur turns to Chris Pratt and said, is that true? He's like, you heard the lady. Doop, 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 doop. He's like, well, then let's have a conversation.
Man, like...
It's like, oh boy, here we go. If there's a rampage in the third act of this movie, I might get back on board again.
The robot bartender could have been like, robot stereotypical gay best friend.
Gay best friend. Should we do the previews?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so first I wrote down Christmas Frankenstein, because not technically a preview, but I want to talk about this commercial because the first time I watched it, I cried like a little bitch.
Christmas Frankenstein?
Christmas Frankenstein. So, like, if they made a full-length Christmas Frankenstein, I'd watch the shit out of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Christmas Frankenstein?
As long as James McAvoy is still playing Victor Frankenstein.
Patriots Day.
Oh, the Boston bombing movie.
Yeah, it's, like, I feel bad saying, like, too soon, but too soon, maybe?
I'm kind of, I think I might be desensitized to stuff that is, like, true crime stuff that comes out not long after. So that, I mean, it is pretty soon, but it's Mark Wahlberg. So, like, oh my god, guys. You hear that explosion? Well, but if Mark Wahlberg is best when he's at his most Bostonian. But like, it's a Peter Berg film, and I really like Peter Berg movies. He just did the Deepwater Horizon that was just out, and Lone Survivor, and honestly, I think it'll probably be good. I mean, he's got, other than Battleship, Peter Berg's track record's really good. But even Peter Berg was like, yeah, I was under contract to make that shit.
We've got a lot of previews. Okay, 50 Shades Darker. Which I'm gonna have to freaking find a copy of that book so I can tweet it.
Did you not read 50 Shades Darker?
No.
I'll say this about that movie. One, that trailer's hilarious. Also, it seems like it has way more plot than the first movie.
Like, the plot is they get back together, go to like a sexy mask party or a masky sex party.
Oh, an Eyes Wide Shut viewing party.
The emphasis is on. And then she's haunted, I guess, by Sadako from The Ring.
Mm-hmm.
Sexily haunted.
That's way more story than they gave us in the first movie. It seems like the first movie I mainly remember sitting there being like, this is just really not that interesting. With this one, I'm not saying this movie looks good, but I'm saying this one has more of a potential to be hilarious.
I think it's like his creepy old lady girlfriend comes back, but I'm not sure why Sadako is there.
And it's Kim Basinger too. Right on. Also, he's so creepy in this trailer. Like, you want to talk about something that should be a horror movie. I mean, there are parts in this trailer where he's staring at her from across the room like he's fucking Michael Myers.
Well, they're playing like this really weird atonal version of Crazy in Love.
Where the guy ejaculates at the end of it.
It's what in the original song featuring Beyonce, she goes, oh no. And so you don't realize at first that that's what he's doing, because he's like, oh no.
It sounds like a guy who is singing the song to himself and beating off as he's watching the music video.
He was at the sexy mask party.
Yeah.
The masky sex party. Hidden Figures, we've talked about that preview already. Dunkirk, which still looks Dunkirk.
Christopher Nolan war movie? Yeah. I'm down.
Blade Runner 2049.
I'm excited for that. I am so excited for that. I haven't
seen the first
Really?
Blade Runner. Yeah, it's on that. It's on the list of movies I'm in trouble for never having seen.
Oh, Blade Runner's so fucking good. I'm crazy. Plus, they got. I'm crazy excited for this. They got the director of like Sicario and Prisoners and Arrival behind it. Like, I mean, it's just a teaser trailer, but. Fuck me, it's a great teaser trailer.
It's canonically, is it a direct sequel to the original Blade Runner?
It's a sequel, yeah.
And it's my understanding that Harrison Ford was in the book version was a robot, but in the movie version he wasn't a robot.
All depends on which version you watch. There's like 100.
Okay, so which version is this a sequel to?
Okay, like if that's a good question, honestly, but like when you sit down to watch it, if you start hearing narration, don't watch that one. Okay. Admittedly, the narration's kind of funny because Harrison Ford didn't want to do it, so he obviously doesn't give a shit. He's like, it was at that moment I realized that. Like he just doesn't give a fuck.
Why did they add narration?
I think like test audiences found it confusing or whatever, or maybe the studio thought they would. But there are several different versions of that movie. I recommend watching ones that don't have narration.
Okay, so in the ones that don't have narration, he isn't a robot.
Honestly, I'm sorry, it's been a long time since I've seen it, and I've seen both versions several times. The one that's like a happy ending, that one's, yeah, the one, I don't want to spoil it, but like there's one version that has like a silly happy ending that's kind of funny. But man, I need to go back and watch Blade Runner again.
Well, you can watch it with me because I'm going to watch it eventually.
And the theatrical version's the one that I first saw.
Help me out, Life?
Oh, the one with Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds, where it was in space.
Oh, okay. They discover life and it eats one of their hands.
Yeah, it looks like
it, but in space, maybe.
Not There's a clown chasing them.
The thing.
Sweet.
It looks like what in space?
I mean, it looks like that was a really well cut together trailer for something that I'm hoping isn't just like Alien. Like, okay, they're on board a ship and something's trying to kill them. All right. But again, it was a really well cut together trailer. I'll give it that. It's got a good cast. Yeah, I mean, it looks, but I'm hoping there's more to it than just like, we found this thing, it's gonna kill us now.
I'll watch it. It's got Ryan Reynolds in it. And he's not, buried in a coffin. Ghost in the Shell looks very pretty.
Yeah. I don't know much I mean, I saw that years and years and years ago, but The movie doesn't look bad. It looks gorgeous.
Well, I have no idea what that bottom one says. Oh, Spider-Man Homecoming.
Oh, yeah, that looks...
I'm excited
like
for
a
the
lot
new
of fun.
Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, Michael Keaton in a Spider-Man movie.
Is the Vulture?
Hell yes. I hope it has the exact same ending as Birdman. They all do it in one take, too. Excellent.
At the end, it turns out that was the Avengers.
Wow, this movie got deep. It's gonna win Best Picture. No, I'm looking forward to that. I was actually shocked we didn't get Guardians of the Galaxy 2 in front of this
No,
movie.
it seems like we ought to have. The closest we got is during the and one more thing, AMC thing. One of the things was Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Mm-hmm. Well, tomorrow I've got,
Why him?
Why him?
I'm so glad I'm at Passengers. I think that's the other reason I didn't have a problem with this movie. It's like, at least it's not why him.
At least it's not why him. Or at least it's... And also, we did see Collateral Beauty last week,
Yeah,
which was...
the bar's set super low right now.
The bar was really set for some Hollywood bullshit, and it's like, this movie is kind of morally fucking corrupt, but you know what? It's not Collateral Beauty. I'll give it that.
Far more charmingly morally corrupt.
Oh yeah, it's got way more charisma to it, at least. To its skeeviness. Yeah, I was also supposed to be at Assassin's Creed tonight, but I'm seeing it tomorrow instead. I figured I would probably get a text from Brian earlier that was like, can we reschedule? I figured we probably would, because he and I were up late last night watching Gilmore Girls.
Were you wearing your jammies and painting each other's toenails?
I was in my pajamas. I just went over there in my sweatpants and like flannel shirt because I'm like, it's my birthday. I don't care. We're gonna watch Gilmore Girls and get
Treat
Chinese
yourself.
food. The funniest part of the night was when we ordered the Chinese food and the guy showed up. Me and Brian are standing there at the door, and it was just this older Chinese guy who was delivering it to us. And I forgot to let him know on the phone that I was paying with my card. So I was like, give me a second. I'll call and give him my card number or something like that. And then the guy said something in Chinese and walked off and got in his car, and Brian's like, is he just getting in his car? And oh no, he's leaving. We're like, what? Where's he going?
Did you leave your Chinese food?
No, he took off. And so then we called the place like, well, I need to give you my credit card information so we can pay for the food, but the guy just left. And she's like, did he leave you your food? Like, well, no, he kind of just took off. Like, he did? Like, oh, okay. And so I had the guy's number on my phone, and he's like, hello? And I'm like, are you coming back? He's like, oh, yes, 2 minutes. Turns out the reason why he left was he had to go back to get a receipt for me to sign since I was paying for my card, but Brian and I were so confused. Anyway, that's my Chinese food story from last night.
Best birthday ever.
Yes, I'm not hungover today, so yeah, it kind of is. See ya.